guys, welcome back to the channel. So today I'm going to be changing out the front bumper on my 2015 Tesla Model S. This right here has the original style of the bumper. The 2016 Pluses have that newer style that you see on the left hand side. So I want to walk you through first some of the differences between the two. So let's just take a quick look here. So this right here was one that I picked up off of eBay. Had it repainted already. It was a brand new one, never painted at all. I kind of lucked up on this one. Apparently it was a return, or it was one that they decided not to use because of some scratches on them, some superficial scratches. It was even a little note up and stuck to it that even stated as such. So I got this one for about 300 bucks. And then I dropped it off at my paint guy and he shot it up. So 350 for the paint job. They took care of everything, you know, scrubbed it all down because it's new bumpers. So there's certain procedures you have to go through for that because of some coating that's on there. They took care of all that. So 300 for the bumper, 350 for the paint job. So now it already has the sensors, the holes for the parking sensors already up in there, which is great. Another great thing is that from the back side, it already has the brackets up in there to receive the parking sensors. Now, some of the differences you may wonder about. All right, one of the things is, if you notice, along the bottom half of the mine, you have that black under thingy. So that part on this one isn't going to be able to work on here. I was just taking a look at that now. It looks like I'm probably going to have to order a different piece to go underneath to cover up the bottom because they made it slightly different. As you can see over here, you got that curve right here on the new one that kind of takes that curve that they have there. So they kind of just extended it down to eliminate the need for that right there. Unlike over here on the factory style one, it just ends, it's flat right here to receive that end. Another one of the differences is here is for where you're going to put the fog lights and the vents at. If you take a look, probably better to see on the new one, you see the depth of that? There's my finger on there. Goes down to what, my second knuckle? All right. Now when you come over here, let me make sure I get my seat from the this body line right here. I'm going back. And when you go over here, you really don't have that body. There we go. There's the body line, but it's not as deep as the one over there. So on the factory, this right here, the new one, I'm going to have to trim all of this back in order to accommodate for it, so it's just the same depth. Other than that, and the other thing is over here, as you can see on ours, I have the sensor up front, as you can see right there, and you have two places for the air to flow through, at the bottom down here and that part up there. And behind there, they're broken out into those two zones too as well. Up here on this one, you only have the one zone, and I'm going to have to do a aftermarket vent and to make an opening too for the sensor that's on the front. Another thing is, you'll notice height-wise, you see that height difference between the two? I think that's because they added that part that would have gone on the bottom of that and just extended the bottom part of this down. So you have a deeper part over there. And let's see here, what else? I believe these right here are also in a different location wise than they are on here too as well. But I got the factory brackets that go with this style to accommodate that. And of course, the big one is the big vent we have up here. So on this one, you just have that big opening there. On here, they closed all that up. So it's a smaller little grill, and I have that as well, and I'll show you that later to fill in for that part. All right, so I got all the rest of the parts in, and so now I can show you everything together that you will need in addition to the bumper. So this right here is just a universal mesh that I bought that goes along the bottom, at the bottom. So it's metal, it comes rolled up, so I have to unroll it, flatten it out. So I just rolled it on something flat like this picnic table here to get it nice and flat. It is black too, which is nice. Let's see here. You need to get the emblem. I think I paid less than $20 for this. Something like 14 or something. This right here, I paid $30 for. If you buy it here in the US, which they got it from China as well, they're gonna charge you like $100 or more for this. If you order it straight from China, it takes about 2 weeks to get here. It cost me $30 for it. That's shipped, the total, straight to my door. These right here are aftermarket brackets. These are the ones that go on the 2016 Plus. It won't work with ours. These right here are bigger. They extend out further to receive the bumper. So these right here, I think I paid for the pair. I paid $30 for the pair. And then you also need these two parts right here for the grill. This comes chrome. As you can see, I pre-painted it black in preparation for this. There was 2 coats of rattle can spray can paint from Menards, glossy, the what is that, Rust-Oleum type one. First I spray some adhesion promoter, a can of that on there, two coats of that clear adhesion promotion. Then I painted this up 2 coats on here, and then 2 coats of clear coat on there. And that was it, nothing big, major. And I went on and sprayed, these come more of a kind of a dry look. So I sprayed this up inside here too, because the emblem will go in there, and so it'll be seen. So I would rather for that to be nice and shiny the way it is now. And I think it'll be easier to clean too when it has having that gloss on there opposed to that dull look. And you know how that dull look over time with sun, it'll just fade out even more. And this right here part may have to get trimmed back some for ours, because I was taking a look and it like it'll stick out pretty far. So I'll determine that later, but that part may have to get trimmed back, but we'll figure that out as we go along. All right, so the first thing we want to do is start removing some of these panels so that we can remove the bumper. We're going to need to remove this panel right here, this panel up here, and this panel up here first. To be able to remove this panel, you just take this right here and it just unscrews out of there. Now, if it's your first time ever taking it off, it may feel like it doesn't want to move. You may have to get pliers put on there and just squeeze on here and turn it. That's how it was for me the first time I took this off, when I had to change the air filter that's back there. And I have a YouTube out there for that too as well. So if you need to know how to do that, go ahead and hit subscribe and check out some of my other YouTubes working on my Tesla. But for future, I end up putting some NTCs on here to help out. So that's one side off. Go ahead and get the other side. Then at that point, you can just take it and lift it up and out of there. And with those off, you can easily pop this out from the front. You can just stick something soft, some plastic, soft and stiff, but plastic in here just to get behind there and just pop it off. Or sometimes you can just get in there with your fingers. But now that you have this off, you can easily just push from the back to pop that on out. And the reason when you want to go ahead and pop this off now at this point is because you have these 2 sensors up front, and you want to disconnect those. And I'll take the sensors out later, because there's little nubs on each side of these that allow for the bracket to be able to hold them in. And if you're not careful, you can break those little nubs off. So then your sensor doesn't really lay flat. So just go ahead and push this down over here and pull these off. All right, so now that we have that off, before we remove these two 10mm bolts, we want to get underneath. There's some push pins underneath. We want to pop those out. And then once we have all those out, we can remove the screw that's on this side and the screw on that side. Then we'll remove these two and we can just pop her on off. All right, so I put down a tarp because I'm going to need to get underneath to get the push pins out of there. And I have this handy little tool for that. So I suggest you have one of these as well. There are several, I can't recall how many there are. All right, now that you have the push pins out from the bottom, now we can go take the screws out. There's one on each side that helps keep this pressed up against the fender. And it's right here. So you just take your screwdriver and you go here and you just back the screw out from this angle. Remember, it's going this way into the screw, into the fender. One on each side. And once you have those out, that tail just pops out like that. All right. Now, and as you have those, now we're going to take a 10mm and take those two screws out, bolts out. All right. Once we take these out, you want to be careful. You want to remove this side first, the driver's side, and then swing it this way, not taking it away from, pulling it far away, but swing that side, the driver's side first, because the wire loom ends that way, but it routes here, goes through here, and then goes into the car. So you don't want to pull this in the way. So we're going to pull that side away first, disconnect everything from there, leading up over here, and then we can remove the fender. And now that we have everything disconnected, we should be able to just take it out from over here and swing it out. All right, so I've been in here many times before, so my wire loom isn't all nice and connected up and all pretty like yours is. It's the first time you're doing it, so disregard that. But at this point, now that you have it out, you want to start disconnecting all the sensors. And this one over here is for the vents that open up automatically when needed. And here is the back side. from the back side, all the sensors are still in. Again, like I said before, we want to be careful removing those because there are little nubs on there that you want to be able to transfer over. I mean, that you don't want to break off because it makes it difficult when it's time to transfer them over. Also, we have to take out the 2 fog lights, and we have to take out the 2 vents. The center grill, unfortunately, isn't transferable over. It would be nice because you got the thing down there for the sensor, for the radar, already pre-cut, but we can't use that. All right, so I'm just going to use this little pick here and a little small screwdriver just to help me lift this little section up. Or you can also try it with your thumb as well, but I'm gonna just have these that may be able to help me out to be able to pry it down gently. And then lift the other side up so it's on one on each side. The problem is sometimes you lift up one, then the other one pop back in. And then pop it off. And this right here, if you can see that, let me see, get it nice and clear for you guys. See that little nub right there? And you see one on the other side? Those are very easy to break off, all right? And be careful too, this right here, on this outer part, can come off, so don't lose that. Now your whole bumper is gonna be red. So remember your 2 middle sensors are black because they were in that black covering. So you may wanna get those painted as well. All right, on the old bumper, this is the part I was talking about, this whole part here on the bottom. That splash shield down there, that's the one that I'm gonna have to find out what is the proper one to fill in that void or that opening when the new bumper go on, because there's now going to be, as you can see, a several inch, probably about a foot opening from the center. Of course, as it goes that way, it tapers off, so it's much less, but there is an opening down there that we don't want to have, so I have to see which splash shield is the proper one for this one to get that ordered out. All right, to get the fog lights and the vents out, you're going to need a T25 bit. This right here is the number 25. And you're also going to need a 10 millimeter. So there's one 10 millimeter bolt, and the rest are the screws that require this right here. The vent. Now the fog light. All right, one of the first things I want to do is do a dry fit before putting everything over and putting the bumper on. So I want to go ahead and transfer over, remove the original factory brackets and replace them with the 2 that are made for the 2016 Plus model. It's 2 bolts, one on the top, one on the bottom. This one goes on this side, and it goes just like that for this hole and this hole. So you got that nub right there sticking out. That's going to be recessed into there. That's how you know you lined up well. In case you were wondering how the sensor will falls smack dab in the middle, which is perfect. Before I get started on transferring everything over, I just want to call out a couple of things. So, what you may see that's different on mine than yours is a couple of things. Well, actually 3 things. And I just wanted to show you those and tell you the reason why. So earlier, I had purchased a front bumper from Ukraine. It was one that they handmade, and it was a total bust. I have a YouTube video out there of that whole experience, and please go ahead and hit that subscribe button and check that one out. But there were some things I had to cut on here to make that work. So one of the things would have been the front bumper, the front crash bar. You're like, what? Why are you cutting the front crash bar? But it was more of a section that they added on to fill in a void. So it really wasn't needed. It was a section right up in here. And I actually had ordered out a new replacement one so that to undo the cutting that I did, which is this section right here. That is here. So that kind of fills in that void between that bumper and this crash bar. So that's the part I had cut off. So I got this with the intent of changing this out while I was doing this. Only 4 bolts on this side, 4 bolts on that side, no big deal. But it's looking like this being cut off is going to actually be kind of beneficial to me. You don't have to cut it off. I just want to be clear on that. You can do everything with this on here. But the fact that it's already cut off on mine, actually I think I may just leave it like that. And the other thing would be right here. You need this part if you have the sensor like I do down here, the radar. You need this part down here because this section right here mounts to it and it gives it stability. This is mounting to the frame, and then the sensor is sitting on here, so it gives it stability. So you don't want to remove this. But what I had to do for theirs, I had to cut these back right here. And so I got another one so I wouldn't have anything cut. When I put the new bumper on now, I took a look underneath, and where I cut it is almost perfect matching up to where I cut it at. So if I hadn't cut it, actually I think this would have been a slight issue. It could have sat underneath it and no one would ever known, but remember I need to add that splash shield underneath, and that would actually prevent that splash shield from coming off. And from taking a look at it, I probably even can trim it back a little bit further. So I won't be putting this on or putting this on. And then this one over here goes in front of the radiator. And I had cut off the rubber around there on the one that's on the car. So I was going to put that back on, replace it back with that one. But taking a look, it just lets more air flow through with that more wide open, more air to go into the radiator. So I'm leaving that off now. Given that now you only have 1 zone for air to come in because this is closed up, you don't have the 2 zones. So that will help counter that and make sure I don't have reduced airflow going in there. But the thing that I mainly want to point out, because you guys will still have that bar on there, is that for this sensor right here, or it's this one, I can't recall which one, because of that extra space that you have to go through, that extra for the wiring to go around there, the plug doesn't completely make it over to that sensor area. So what you would have to do is you would have to cut the wiring and splice in some new, some extra, like an extra, say 5 inches of, even though only really another inch or two is needed, but just to give you some wiggle room to be able to make it over there. I think I won't need to do that because that isn't on there, but I'll confirm once I start putting it in. All right, so this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna take tape. This is the original bumper, the one I took off, and I'm making a template. So I'm just going around where I'm going to need to cut on the other one. So I'm just putting the tape against this body line up front over here as my guide, and then taking it all the way back here, and then just trimming it around there, get it up against here. So I'm going to take this off and transfer it over to the new bumper, and use that same body line up front here as my guide to put it on there, and then that'll let me know however much is sticking out from this side that I need to cut off. All right, so this is where I'm at now. So I've made the tape templates, and I transferred them over here. As you can see down here and where it is up here. What determined where this one will go on here is I measured from here to the tip over here on the other one. And so I just put the tip of this in the same distance from here. Now, one of the things, this lip right here doesn't exist on the original bumper. So like that has to come off. I'm assuming. I'm gonna do it slowly just to make sure. I think I wanna keep these curves here because I believe the fog lights needs to press up against those. So I think initially I'm just gonna do my cut here and my cut here straight across. And then when we get down to these fins right here, I also transferred those over as well, as you can see. So that's what I'm initially going to cut. I'm not going to cut the curves. Right now I'm just going to cut the straight lines and then see how things look. All right, so both sides I did differently. And so this side over here, I went and took my measuring tape and kept transferring measurements over, and this side got much closer, I would say. I'm more happy with this, the turnout on this one over here. The side where I did the tape and made templates and transferred it over, which I thought would be a fail-safe, that one wasn't really so much of a fail-safe over there. So I don't like the outcome of that one over there. I think I can do something to reduce that down a bit. And I think I will, where I can get this to come in closer. And I think I will do that to close up that gap. All right, so when putting in the sensors on the brackets that these go into on the new bumper, let's see if I can get that to focus in. All right. You see that little notch? I already started cutting it out. You probably can, oops, let me get that little down. All right, let's try this. You see that little notch right there? They don't have a slot for that little notch. So it keeps it from setting all the way in. It's just off just a little bit. So you either have to cut that off or cut a little notch into the bracket. So I'm just taking my blade and I'm just knocking that little notch off the top of there. Okay, so right now what I'm doing is putting on the grill, the lower grill down here. And so I cut it to shape and I made little notches in for those right there so they can help hold it in. And they have these little things down here too as well. So I made little notches in there for those as well. And then on the end down here you have screw holes on all four corners. So I'm going to put screws in there, probably with a washer too, to help hold it on and more. But before I do that part, and I'm probably going to put some JB Weld in these sections just for added security for that. But before I do any of that, I'm going to take it now and I'm going to put it on the car, test fit it, and then I'm going to take a marker and outline this sensor right here, take it back off and trim out that sensor. Or trim out the opening for that sensor. All right, so when I had it up there, I just outlined it with the tape. Made that little frame so it's the same while this was on the car. And then I took it off and I went on to use this to make the cut. Real easy. I did the same thing. I used the same tool to make these cuts as well. So now I can go ahead and put the screws with the washers in on the end, put a little JB Weld in those sections. And one little thing while we are on, while the bumper's off, see that sensor right there? That was up here on the top, up here in this section, like right here. Well, this is going to be hidden behind the bumper now. So just take it, it's more than enough wire. Just take it, make a little hole in here and stick the sensor in there so it'll be in the airflow. And then I threw a little JB Weld on the back side just to make sure it didn't come down. All right, so now I've gone through and attached all of the sensors to the wires, plugged in the vents, plugged in the fog lights, all of those there. I didn't need to extend the wire, and I'm doubtful, you may not have to either. So you'll have to determine that. This may be the reason why, or because right now I got them all connected, nothing special. But you can see it's a straight line. You don't have a curve there. So I still have to lift it up and put it up on here. And that may be where, if you have that piece there, that may be where that comes into play. We'll see. Other than that, I have a box down here so that I can set it on it to help me put it in place. And I also put some tape here to protect that because I'm sure this will be hitting it while I'm getting it set up, so I don't want to nick any paint over here. But I can see that, yeah, you will need to extend the wire, and I may need to as well. All right, so it looks like you do have to extend one of the sensor wires. I thought it was on this side. It turns out it's on this side. And I didn't realize that until I thought I was all done. And I looked and I saw that sensor was out. I was like, oh geez, how did that get out? And I went in there and took a look and saw that it would not reach. It was too short. So I'm gonna have to cut these 3 wires and extend it out. That's the only way. All right, so I extended the wire. Not my best work, but it all hold up. I spliced them in and I did some soldering, as good as that can get. Wrapped them up, double wrapped them. I did heat shrink under there as well. All right, so now it's time to put these 3 pieces on. This, and of course the T badge. So now I see that I should have put them on when I had the bumper off, but I thought there was more than enough room up in here to just slip them on. This section goes on here. This goes behind there, like that, and then of course the badge go in there. All right, so I ended up taking it off and getting this on there. 2 things I probably want to call out to you. One would be, see this box right here? It presses up right against there, and that prevents this from really getting over there. So I'm gonna have to notch this out right here so that this can get up in there. And the other thing is, where is the emblem? Here it is. I'll show you. All right, let the trunk down, front, whatever they want to call it. All right, so if I put that on there just like that, take a look. That thing will be sticking out. That would be hideous because the trunk really, let me close it all, about it all the way. For one, I'm probably going to have to heat this up to try to expand it. You see, that doesn't go up there. I'm assuming the hood of the others is slightly different. Oops, come back a little bit. So that gap right there has to be dealt with. But the other thing is this right here. We do not want that sticking out there like that. You see that all from the top. That would be hideous. What I foresee is cutting off all of this plastic right here and just having a T and using JB Weld and gluing it straight back up in there, because this right here won't work at all. That's just too far out. So right now I won't put the T on until I figure out the solution that works for me. All right, so now I got the bumper on. I had to take it off like 20 times because there was always something. The wire dropped down, a sensor kind of slid out a little bit. So it kept being something, so I had to keep taking it off. But I finally got to the point where it's on. Now I'm starting to put these plastic pieces back in. Now these little part things right here that are on the bottom, those don't go with this. So they all had to come out. So it's gonna go on there, right? And it looks like I'm going to need to drill a hole into this plastic piece and into that plastic piece so I can put a push pin in there in order to be able to keep that in place. All right, so I drilled the hole here and one here, and I have this push pin set that I got from the Menards hardware store. I think I paid like $8 for this whole set. So looking for that. Now I can use one of those to, a couple of those to fill that in. All right, so here it is now. It's all on, and a couple of things I want to point out, okay? First of all, I love it, but I'm going to point out certain things that you may not know. One, the bumper protrudes past the hood. You see that? You actually see all of that. The emblem would have come all the way out to here too as well. That would have been hideous. So I'm thinking of a solution for that. I'm probably gonna, and I can't cut down that one, the back off and recess it back up in there because it's just too big. So I have to come up with another solution, but I'm not gonna have that emblem sticking out. So I'm just gonna find an emblem that is smaller that I can recess back in there and glue in there. Another thing is, you see that gap right there. All right, this right here is the one of the grill piece that was purchased, but it doesn't follow this curvature up here. So that's another thing. And another thing is, when I put remember when I trimmed this out, it was perfectly dead on. And for some reason now it has shifted about a ½ inch towards the passenger side. So I'm gonna have to trim this side back a little bit. And I really don't stress over there because I was planning on making a black frame for it, you know, like a ½ inch frame that go around here, something to make it look nice and pretty. So I wasn't stressing over that part anyway. And of course, where we had to trim it back some, it's not perfect, you know, so I would say for you guys, just trim off a little each time and just keep putting it in there until you get it right. I would say the measuring definitely did a better job than doing the template. So other than that, I definitely love it. I have no regrets. Yeah, so if you guys like, hit the like button and definitely hit that subscribe button as well.